Well, I'll go ahead and get started. So good afternoon. Welcome back to our virtual caregiver conference, How Full is Your Cup? I am Candace Christensen, and I'm the coordinator with the Caregiver Coalition of Northeast Florida. So far we've had, like I said, some incredible and enlightening and refreshing presentations and information. And I can tell you, I honestly feel lighter and more refreshed than I did when I first signed on this morning. These conferences, hearing that you're going to be virtual from 9 a.m. until almost 3 p.m. is kind of daunting, but these sessions just go by so quickly. So I really enjoyed our time together. This has been really great. So if you've been with us so far, thanks for spending so much time with us and spending so much time on yourself too. That's what this is all about. So we have a great program that's going to close us out today. Before we get into it, I would like to share a short message from our 2021 sponsors.
How's everybody doing?
Hey, you guys.
Hi. It's time to lean on each other.
All of you guys, so much great support.
And laugh with each other. Cheers. Let's do it together with caregiving chats and more. Come find us at aarp.org/near you.
My wife, I call her a drill sergeant. She gave me the inspiration to build myself up. I need to go on dialysis. Florida Blues, they gave my wife good information, what I ate, how she cooked, and everything. In fact, if I go to the store and buy something today, she'll get it and read it and say, you can't have this. That's why I think I'm where I'm at today.
So we have some awesome sponsors this year, and without them, they have such a big part in making these workshops happen and being able to be here in this setting. So our 2021 gold sponsors, Florida Blue, Baptist Agewell Center for Senior Health and Community Hospice and Palliative Care, and also our renewing silver sponsor, AARP. So thank you so much on behalf of the Caregiver Coalition. We are so grateful for your generosity and your dedication to caregiving. So a few more quick things before we get started, our housekeeping items. This session is being recorded and it's going to be posted to our website and our YouTube channel. So if you miss anything, don't worry about it. We're going to be sending out the link next week to the recording so that you can catch up or rewatch, whatever you need to do. And for that reason, we're going to keep everybody's microphones and cameras off so that there's minimal distractions. If you have any questions or comments or thoughts during the presentation, you can type those into the chat box and I'll make sure that we get them read, we get the questions answered. And then at the end of the session, I'm going to pull up a quick poll, and that's where you can let us know what you liked and what you didn't like, and it just helps us build these sessions even better in the future. And then lastly, in case we run into any technical difficulties, we're going to try and resolve them as quickly as possible. So fingers crossed. So without further ado, Miss Loretta Vaney is joining us today. Loretta is a woman of many talents who wears many hats. And Miss Loretta, I'm going to close this out so you can pull up your presentation.
All right.
So let me share a little bit about you, Loretta. Loretta cares for her mother, and she's written several books about her journey as a caregiver of someone diagnosed with dementia. So today she'll be sharing about that journey and how it's gotten her to this point as an inspirational speaker and a professional Lego builder. So thank you for being here, Loretta.
Now, for some reason, it won't let me show. Hold on. All right, let me share. There we go. Now it'll let me bring it up.
There we go. I see it.
All right, let's see. Ta-da!
It's all yours, Loretta.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. It is such a joy to be here with you today. And we're going to jump right into it. How many of you, after a particularly bad caregiving day, have thought to yourself, that's it, I give up. I can't do this anymore. If you feel that way, trust me, you are not alone. Every single caregiver that I know has felt that way every day, sometimes more than once a day. As you know, there are more than 5 million caregivers in the United States, and most of them, probably quite a few of you, are unpaid, which means we really have to love this. But I believe that the best way to have an awesome caregiving experience is to have strategies that you can build upon every day to care for the people that you're caring for and for yourselves. And that is really a big piece. So you're going to meet my whole family, or at least a big portion of them, as we go through. My mom's in the green top there with the blue slacks, and she was diagnosed with dementia in 2006. And for the first 3 or 4 years of our caregiving, Mom was really pretty stable. She loved her exercise classes. You can see that's Tai Chi she's doing on the screen there. And for those first, few years, I just struggled my way through caregiving. I tried to just, with a whole lot of luck, go day by day by day. And then in 2009, when she could no longer live alone, that's when it really got bad for me. It became so painful watching my mom struggle with her disease. I realized that we needed some joy to counteract the pain of watching someone you love or care for just slowly disappear right before your eyes. Now, I knew a little something about joy helping to overcome pain in my own life, because for 13 years, between 1988 and 2001, I was hospitalized more than 30 times, and I had 21 operations. Whole lot of people, including my mother, weren't sure I was going to survive. But as you can see, I most certainly did. So why do I believe so strongly that joy is a necessary component of caregiving? Well, because pain can kill you, especially when caregiving is a long-term commitment. I know that all of you know that a lot of caregivers die before the person that they're caring for. And so for me, anything I must do that is going to be long-term, it must include some joy. So even though I hate dementia with every fiber of my being, I began to look for ways to bring Mom some joy every single day. And I believe I had my health challenges early in life, so I would be well prepared to do caregiving later in my life. I got the best help ever in 2016 with my little joy strategy that I wanted to do. When I read the best-selling book called The Book of Joy by Archbishop Desmond Tutu and His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Now, what was interesting about the two of them, this book was a real aha moment for me, by the way. What was interesting about what they did and how this book came to be, they spent a weekend retreat together in 2015, the year before the book came out. And their whole purpose was to explore how joy could be transformed to just some fleeting feeling we had every now and then into a lasting way of being. Isn't that cool? And they found that the way that we can heal our own pain is by turning to the pain of others. They call this a virtuous cycle. So the more we turn toward others, the more joy we experience. And the more joy we experience, the more joy we can bring to others. Is that the coolest thing or what? And for me, that sounded absolutely perfect when it came to caregiving, because I already knew I had used joy to help me heal from my own years of illness by spreading joy to the fellow patients who were on the floor with me and all the medical staff that took care of us. For several years, I even had my own room in the hospital, and they would all yell, "Loretta's back," whenever I showed up for another stay. And to this day, I am still in touch with some of those folks who helped to save my life. And they all say that they remember how much joy I brought to the hospital, even though I was in so much pain myself. So I'm thinking this book of joy is really going to work. So I started putting together my strategy of bringing joy to the caregiver experience using what I call the 3 H's every day. So the 3 H's start with humility. It's in the middle there, and it's kind of the connector between the other two components of hope and humor. Now, this trifecta of humility, hope, and humor has gotten me through many tough caregiving days, I have to say. And if you're asking yourself, why are these H's made out of Lego bricks? Well, I have an answer for you. I am what they call an AFOL, an adult fan of Lego. I spent hours building with Lego bricks with my mom as a kid, and I just never outgrew the hobby. That's plain and simple. So I'm always building something, especially concepts that connect to each other. Most of the time when I'm talking about connectors, I'm talking about connecting Lego bricks together. In all honesty, I actually built Lego models of this presentation before I ever wrote anything down. That's just kind of how it goes. So these 3 H's are the reason why we're here this afternoon. And so my goal is to give you some tools for the challenging caregiver days and to help you move the mindset from I give up to I got this. So are we all ready to get started? I hope so. Yay! Great. And I'm going to need your help as we go through. So to get us started, first thing I need you to do is to take out your handout, which I believe you received a day or so ago. And if you did not, don't worry, not a bit. Just grab any piece of paper that you want to write on, and you're going to make 2 columns if you're making your own. But if you have the handout, you can see that on the left side, there is the values column. And then the second column is joyful practices. So as we go through each of the 3 H's, you're going to be building a list with both your own personal values that drive the daily decisions you make every day regarding caregiving, and some joyful practices for each of the H's that will help you design your own caregiving success plan that you're going to be able to use every day. Doesn't that sound fun? Cool. Now, there is no way to sugarcoat how challenging caregiving can be. There's just no way. A couple of years after my mom's diagnosis, I was asked what it was like to be a caregiver for somebody with dementia. And I wrote that quote that you see on the screen. Caregiving is the most challenging and rewarding job in the world. It is like starring in an action movie you never auditioned for, right? I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. So when I think of that quote today, so this was years ago when I wrote that. When I think of that quote today, I think of some of my favorite action movies. And the character I always identify most with is the character that has the joy. So when it comes to all the action in caregiving, for me, it is all about the joy in it. So let's be clear right off the top. Caregiving is not for everyone. And I'm sure we all know people who are caregivers who should not be. My sister and I used to joke when I was a teenager, she was older, that I was going to be the one to care for our mom when we got older, because I was the patient and joyful one in our family. So as we go through, I want to ask you a couple of questions as we start to build our list. First, are you known for how you love and care for others? Do you set up the day for success with the person or people that you're caring for? So as we go through the rest of our time together, I want us to, me too, think about those 2 questions. So let me just give you an example of one of the things I use to try to set up my mom for success. I typically always try to allow her to do, even now, as many things on her own as possible. And I have tried to do that for as long as it was possible. So as you see in the picture on the screen there, Mom is signing a birthday card for her best friend. So I had asked her if she thought she could write her name, which is Doris. And she said yes. And so she writes out Doris, D-O-R-I-S. And she was so, took forever. Don't get me started, took forever, but she did it. And she was so proud of herself. And I was too. So that's just one example of that. So here is our first H. We are ready to get started. You can see the pictures from Mother's Day. This last, not quite a week ago. And so as we're starting with humility, this picture of us is perfect for humility for me. I call her my Wonder Woman. If you're friends with me on Facebook, they named her Wonder Woman. And I gave her that Wonder Woman blanket for her Mother's Day gift. And whenever it's just the two of us together, and I'm looking at her, and yeah, she's in a wheelchair. We'll talk about that as we go through. I'm always reminded of where I come from and just how she raised us. And she raised us basically as a single mom. And so before we really get too deep into it, let's define what humility is. So let's start with the dictionary definition. Humility is defined as freedom from pride or arrogance, not thinking that we are better than anyone else. Now, for me, I kind of have my own definition. For me, it's about caring for others without making them feel like a burden. Humility is my number one personal value. And I learned it from my mom at a very early age. She would tell us not to boast about our accomplishments or any of the things we had, and to always think of and help others before ourselves. So when I was a little kid, Mom used to take us for ice cream once a month, and I always look forward to that treat. On one ice cream day, when I was 4 years old, another little girl was getting ice cream too. And after we had both gotten our treats, we were standing on the corner waiting across the street, the other girl's cone fell to the ground. And without a thought, I handed my ice cream cone to her. The two mothers looked at each other in shock. And when my mother offered to return to the store to get me another cone, I said the other little girl seemed to need the ice cream cone more than I did, and I would wait until next month for mine. Now, in truth, full disclosure, as we like to say, I don't actually remember that event at all. But my mother told that story to everyone who would listen. She was so proud of me. And for me, the joyful practice that goes along with that story is being kind to others. And humility is so important in caregiving because we are caring for people during some of the most vulnerable and challenging times in their lives. There is definite joy in humility, though on some days you do have to look for it at times. Now, my best example of humility, and if you are friends with me on Facebook, you know all about her. My mom's primary caregiver at the group home where she has lived since 2018. Her name is Janet Wright. Now, first of all, why does my mom live in a group home? Well, because Mom never, ever, I say again, never, ever wanted to live with her kids. And she made us sign a document holding us to that promise. So I chose a group home for her, hoping it would be more like a family than other assisted living type facilities that, I had been in before. Now, everything that Janet does for the residents at Life Springs Elder Care oozes with humility. When Mom began to lose the ability to walk after several seizures in the summer of 2020, and she needed a lot of assistance to get around every day, Janet continued to get her to the family room to be with the rest of the residents, as opposed to leaving her in bed all day as some of the other caregivers wanted to do because it was too much trouble to get her up. Janet has a plan for success for my mom and the other residents every day. Even with physical therapy, the strength in Mom's legs caused by the seizures had not returned. So I got her a wheelchair to make it easier for her to get around. But Janet's determination of walking with mom every day, as you see in the picture on the top right, it paid off in a huge way, allowing mom to walk without assistance again by the end of 2020, as you see in the picture on the bottom right, which I never thought she would do again. I just did not think that was possible. Now, in the Mother's Day picture from this year in 2021, on the bottom left, Janet and mom are just marveling over their Mother's Day gifts. Janet's plan is based on her value of determination to help each resident have the best day possible every single day. Her determination is practically etched on her face. Janet's husband is on the transplant list for a new kidney. And though she was all set to start a new job in October of 2020 within walking distance of their home to be closer to her husband and her family, she ended up turning that job down at the last minute because a suitable replacement in her mind had not been found. And she just was not going to leave them with just anybody. And believe it or not, her husband was actually on board with her staying on. And he even said to her, "I always knew you loved Miss Doris more than me." And she said, "You got that right." I mean, oh my gosh, they are just an amazing couple. And to say that Janet is one of a kind is just the ultimate understatement. So my joyful practice with mom on humility focuses on encouraging her by always telling her what a great job she's done whenever she's completed a task that's hard for her to do. So I want you to think back to when you were a kid and your loved ones encouraged you. Do you remember how great that felt? Or a teacher even. I mean, these things are just great. Now, when I complimented mom on putting the Lego bricks together in April of 2021, she says, "Yes, it's on there now." I have a video of it and I'd show it, but it makes me cry. So we won't be showing that today. And I also make sure I never argue with or correct her or anything like that. And I do my best to make her feel special when she needs changing and looks embarrassed. My greatest joyful practice with mom is my level of patience. I never yell at her or scold her for repeating herself, saying the same things over and over and over, or doing something really inappropriate, like taking all her clothes off. That used to be a thing for her. She outgrew that. And when I used to take mom out to Walmart or the doctor's office, when we could go out, many people commented on how patient I, was with her. But my response always was, she's my mom, and she has earned every ounce of my patience. So my other top values are respect and self-respect. I give respect to my mom, and I demand, I say again, demand respect for her from everybody we encounter. I also use my self-respect to treat others the way I want to be treated. So doctors, healthcare workers, caregivers, everybody, I try to treat them the same way I would want to be treated. So that is our H. I want you to get out your list. I'm going to give you a minute to fill in what your values and joyful practices are. And if you want to write in the chat box what you are sharing, anything, you certainly can do that. So go ahead and add your top values, how you can use humility with those you care for, and some joyful practices that you're either already using or would like to use after today. I'm even going to give you some music to do it by. right, that's about a minute. How cool is that? And so we got a couple things in the chat I'm going to read. So from Margaret, being humble creates freedom from perfection, performance, and fear of falling off the pedestal. Oh, I'm going to pay you for that one later, Margaret. Thank you, ma'am. I'm saving this chat. And Mary Daniel, joyful practice, love and kindness as I assist and praise. Okay, I'm going to have to write a new book and include all of these. You guys are awesome. That is perfect. And Candace had joyful practice, being able to make someone's day. Absolutely. You all are fabulous. Thank you. And you can continue to share too. And if we have some time at the end, we will share more. Thank you all. Oh, wow, that was fabulous. Absolutely fabulous. Oh, all right, let's see. All right. So we have completed the blue H for humility, representing the most important element of the trifecta. So it's on to hope. And hope really can produce lots of caregiving joy. We can receive hope from others, and we certainly can give hope as well. So this photo that you're looking at, that's Miss Adams on the left and Mom, of course, on the right. It was taken on Mom's 90th birthday in 2019. Now get this, they have been best friends since kindergarten. Wow. That's amazing. They just give me hope. Just that alone gives me hope, right? So years ago, Mom used to always smile at me and say, "You give me hope." That was just worth $1 million to me. And even though she says very few words these days, her smile still gives me hope. So caregiving can take a toll on your mind, body, and soul, but there is at least always one thing we can find that can bring us some hope. One of the things that typically leads us to the mindset of I give up in the first place is the feeling of being alone. So great hope can be found in the fact that we as caregivers, we are not alone. In this picture from my book of photos called Refreshment for the Caregiver Spirit, my husband took this picture on our trip to Switzerland. Now the mountains in this picture are gorgeous, but the mountains that are in our lives can seem so overwhelming. But if we have a village of support to help us, it absolutely confirms we are not alone. So raise your hand if you remember that game show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? You remember that? In that show, the contestant could phone a friend, their lifeline, somebody that was going to help them win $1 million, right? I love that show. And today, I find great hope in my lifelines, the folks in my life who listen to me and, give me hope. So Chris is my best friend of 30 years, and she's my primary lifetime. Years ago, whenever I would say, I need my lifeline, she would even hide from her kids in the bathroom so we could have an uninterrupted conversation. Now, using your lifelines can bring you a lot of hope because they reinforce for you that you are not alone. One of Chris's greatest gestures to me happened in 2020, and it just filled me. I was bursting with hope, really. So after the first 90 days of the COVID lockdown, during which time I could not see my mom, I was absolutely miserable. We are fifth generation Washingtonians. And not only did I grow up in DC, I attended both college and grad school in the city. So the 99 days COVID mandated separation that we endured was the longest of our entire lives. I shared how miserable I was with Chris, and she listened to me cry and supported me through that heartbreaking time. So a couple of weeks after that conversation, I received the best gift ever. And when I opened it, I knew instantly it was from Chris. There were 2 photo pillows in that box, one for me and one for Mom. So we would both have something to hug whenever we were missing each other. I burst into tears when I saw those pillows. There's Chris in the picture with me, of course. When I delivered Mom's pillow to the group home, of course, they sanitized it and it was still in plastic, as you can probably see. but they were nice enough to hold the door open for me. So there's Janet holding the door open so I can see mom's reaction to it. She hugged it tight and she smiled and said, "That's me." So of course she failed to acknowledge I'm on the pillow too, mind you, and you can see it right there. She never does acknowledge me. I'm trying to get over that. But it was still the best reaction ever. And we never are really alone. And if we honestly share with people how we are thinking and feeling, they can be there for us and they can give us hope. So I also serve as lifeline for many other people. People will call or email me and say they need their dose of Loretta, and I absolutely give it to them. So I just want you to think to yourselves for a minute, what are some of the things that give you hope? Feel free to write it in the chat. I mean, so many things, give me hope, all my lifelines, of course, my mom, she, carried me on, just all kinds of things. So if you want to put that in the chat, you certainly can do that too. I do my best to keep my hope realistic too, so that it doesn't depress me if it doesn't work out. So like, I want a cure for Alzheimer's more than anything ever, for example, but I don't give up all hope because, it doesn't happen when I want it to, which would have been years and years before now, of course. But my daily success plan is to keep mom happy, comfortable, and calm. So, if you want to write in the chat, what's on your daily success plan for the person or people that you're caring for? And it might be different for each person. If you take care of more than if you do this as a professional and you do this for more than one person, you certainly might have more than one daily success plan. And I've been writing these up for a while now. So caregiver and Alzheimer's websites with information and resources, they have lifted me up and given me hope time and time again. So as part of my daily success plan, I actually build in time on most days, not quite every day, but maybe 5 to 7 days to visit with my favorite sites that provide suggestions for other, and I get on and I provide hope for other people as well. So I pulled this one up, the AARP Family Caregiver Discussion Group, as just one of the sites I really, really love. You can write whatever you want and feel supported and understood without judgment. Now look at the question that they were working on when I did this screenshot. It was, if you had an entire day to yourself, what would you do? Think about that for a minute. You can write that in the chat as well. I mean, it's amazing stuff where we can, find hope. And, these are just 2 other sites, Caregiver Stress, definitely want to consider that, how to get rid of it. And then Alzheimer's and Dementia Caregiver Support Group as well. So almost any online Facebook or website support group can bring you hope without you ever having to leave your home. That's what I love about it. I have to admit, I'm gonna just be totally honest. I'm closer to some of the people in my Alzheimer's Facebook support groups whom I've never met than I am to some of the people in my own family. Some of you might have experienced that too. So these are just, like I said, these are just 2 examples. There are hundreds that I'm sure you can find one that you like that can bring you hope. So during the pandemic, I gave my mother's caregivers hope for the future by dividing my mom's stimulus check. I had no idea she was going to get a stimulus check, but when it came, I divided it among her caregivers to help them with what they needed for their own families while they were quarantined in the group home for months, taking care of my family. For me, addressing what another person needs and addressing my own needs is part of my authenticity, another one of my values. People say I am as authentic as they come because I keep it real for everybody. Not only discussing all the challenges of this disease, but exactly where mom is on the journey too. I don't try to sugarcoat this at all for anybody. But it's really the hope that helps me complete my favorite and most important joyful practice of making mom and Janet smile every day. So a critical part of both hope and humility and part of being intentional with the plans that we're going to use for success for today is sharing with other caregivers that work for the people they're caring for, so that share with other caregivers that this worked or this doesn't work, so that people don't have to search around for things that don't work. And so we don't really want to share. So I love this little my little avatar. I always say, share what works. Don't keep it to yourself. One of the best, I mean, this is a great example. One of the best examples that happened at Mom's group home was, I swear, the toughest resident by far was a retired Air Force lieutenant colonel. She would call the caregivers every name other than the one they had been given. She would yell, she threw food, she threw other stuff, and she was just a handful. Nobody wanted to deal with her. Finally, a 17-year-old high school student who was doing her community service in the group home, she solved the problem. She used her phone to show the lieutenant colonel old movies on AMC. They loved their time together, and the lieutenant colonel would look out the window to see when she was coming. She never yelled or threw anything at that young student, not even once. And the caregivers, they were all so jealous that a 17-year-old was able to accomplish what they, the caregivers, all with more than 20 years of experience, could not. So I started, I was just watching them, and I was thinking to myself, don't hate her for doing what y'all couldn't do. So I suggested they sit and plan how they were going to have success with the lieutenant colonel. They began to work together and watch movies with her, even when the 17-year-old wasn't there. Their ability to plan together for the day improved their caregiving success tenfold at least. Their unity and their teamwork, it really became something to see. Wow. My greatest value for hope is my optimism. Since Mom's diagnosis, all of my optimism has just been poured onto her. And I'll just give you just a few examples of why I never lose hope in this woman. Not long after she was diagnosed, I lost her in a large hospital in DC because I made the mistake of letting her go to the bathroom by herself. It took more than an hour to find her. A couple of years after that, she escaped from her first group home, and I got her back from a Facebook post. Who knew you could get your mama back on Facebook? Then in 2019, when she was 90 years old, she got out of her current group home and fell into a ditch and did not break a thing. Not one thing. Who does that? Now, she could have died from any of those things, but Mom, I swear, is by far the toughest person that I know. But it was the summer of 2020, I actually thought we would lose her. She had 3 seizures in June and July of 2020. They were really scary, and it resulted in her being hospitalized. Then she had this fall that actually resulted in a broken clavicle, 4 broken ribs, and another hospitalization. And her oxygen level was so low at times, I just prepared myself for the end. So we named her, as I mentioned, we named her Wonder Woman, because after everything she has been through, she just keeps on ticking. I took this photo after she had her 4th seizure on January 22nd of this year. She still wanted to walk up the stairs instead of using a chairlift, which you see in the pictures right there. Crazy. Then on March 23rd, just 2 months ago, Mom was rushed to the hospital in pain. I was told she was in liver failure and had hours to live. So I followed her written instructions to the letter, and I called in hospice and had her taken back to the group home because she never wanted any surgeries or tubes and was really specific about that. And it's been more than 40 days now. So of course, Mom clearly did not get the memo that she was dying. And I absolutely know how lucky I am to still have Mom. And as long as she is here, my optimism will give me all the hope that I need. Some people are really surprised by my optimism because I am the only one left with Mom. My sister, who you see in the picture on the left with me and my niece, she got MS when she was 57. And after 4 years, she died in 2011. And then my husband, who you see in the picture there with me and Mom, was married to him for almost 31 years. And then he died suddenly in 2016 while we were on vacation in New York. And what's stunning about his death is that he did almost everything for my mother. And I was thinking to myself, what am I going to do without him and my sister. And in a really, really morbid coincidence, my sister and my husband died on the same day, July 17th, 5 years apart. That's just crazy. But they would both be so proud of everything that I've accomplished since they've been gone. And I also get so much hope from the group home caregivers using lots of joyful practices like giving the residents makeovers. Look at my mama in makeup. They do all the celebrating of birthdays and holidays with them, even though they no longer know what the holidays are. And they smiled every day, even during COVID lockdown, which is crazy. And that's really pretty awesome. Having hope means that the caregivers can reassure each other that every day is not a bad day and that tomorrow will be better. They began to work together using the strengths of their individual values, and that unity has made for many more successful caregiving days than bad ones. So here's our list. Back to the list. Go ahead and add your values, your personal values for hope, and your joyful practices as well. And even if you just want to write the name of your lifeline for that, you certainly can do that as well. And we'll go back to our music. Give you another minute. No, she did not get the memo, Margaret. All right. Oh, Mary, I love that. Love. I want Steve to feel loved every single day. When he feels love, he is happy. And that makes every day we're together a blessing. Amen. And I saw some pictures, Mary, from you that were absolutely glowing of the two of you together. So thank you for sharing that. That is awesome. Totally awesome. Candace, I do believe I did get my strength from her. That is a true statement. Mary really is an angel. She really is. She has done some stuff. I tell you, my hero, as I like to say. I just say, great. And you can continue to add on to the list as we go as well. So thank you for completing the H part of that. All right, so there's our yellow H for hope. And now we move on to our last piece, the final component of humor. So first things first, nothing, not one thing about diseases are funny. However, the situations that result from them, especially with dementia, can be absolutely hysterical. And the picture you're looking at will illustrate what I mean. I was taking a selfie of us and Mom asked, "How did we get into that box?" And then she wanted to know how to get out the box. I mean, we all hit the floor at the group home. We were just hysterical. And I always stress that we're laughing at the situation, of course, and not at the person we're caring for. But I tell you what, humor has saved me more times than I can count. Humor can be healing and bring lots of joy just when we need it, the most. Now, even if your caregiver responsibilities go on for years, humor can be part of the entire journey. Our most famous story came early on when I was still allowing Mom to write checks. We were in a really long grocery store line and Mom asked me over and over what the date was so she could write it on her check when it was our turn. Every time she asked what the date was, I answered her. When we finally got up to the cash register, Mom asked one more time what the date was. And I'm getting ready to answer. But before I can, everybody else in the line yells, "It's the 17th," in utter exasperation with my mother. Mom turned to me and asked, "I guess I asked you that before, huh?" And we both laughed hysterically. It is the signature story from my book, Being My Mom's Mom. And as we were leaving the store, this woman followed us out and told us how much she had learned from standing in that line behind us. Because even though mom asked me the date 30 times, I never lost my temper or yelled at her. I simply answered her question each time she asked. The woman confessed that she had yelled a lot at her mom for repeating herself over and over, in spite of the fact that she knows repetition is a known behavior of dementia. I believe I gave that woman hope that she could still change her attitude towards her mom with just a little change in her mindset, especially since she knew her mom was not repeating herself intentionally. And even as mom has moved into the middle and now the later stages of dementia, we still laugh a lot. And sometimes we just laugh at absolutely nothing. Humor is the H that's the easiest to apply because it's so easy to laugh at the funny things as they occur and to laugh at them some more as they become fond memories. So in February of 2019, for mom's 90th birthday, I published a coloring book called Colors Flowing from My Mind, which mom and I worked on together. So because she helped me select the final designs for the coloring book, I put her photo on the back of the book with mine. So one day, in summer of 2020, she's having a really lucid moment. She looks at both of our photos on the back of the book and she asks, "What are you doing on the back of my book?" I'm like, "Girl, you wouldn't even have a book if it wasn't for me." Everybody else was dying laughing as well. She's just a hoot. And every time I think about that, it's just priceless. And as funny as that is, it's absolutely 100% related to my personal value of creativity. So our most famous example of my plan to keep mom calm and creatively engaged is our play with Lego bricks. So even after mom had forgotten who I was in 2014, she must have remembered the hours and hours we spent building with Legos when I was a kid. So whenever I got the Lego bricks out, her blank stare would disappear and she became alive again. So photographers from the Washington Post and the New York Times, they got to see mom in action with the Lego bricks, and it really was something to see. She would always click the bricks together to build a house so she could go home, which of course many of you know, that is what all dementia folks want to do. And so to embrace my creativity, I became a trained facilitator in a methodology called Lego Serious Play. Google it one day when you get bored. And not only did I play with mom, I began doing Lego art classes with folks with dementia in assisted living and memory care facilities. I bet I'm the only Lego instructor you ever met, right? But look at the smiles on their faces. It just brings me so much joy. The guy in the black and white shirt that has his wife with him, he has Parkinson's, so he can't do the Lego bricks. So whenever it's Lego day, he makes her come too, and then he tells her where to put the pieces. So I take their picture together because she helped. So that's why she's in the picture. Now, as mom moved deeper into the later stages of dementia, she was no longer able to build with the Lego bricks. So I just created an assortment of Lego fidget toys for her that she could pull and twist and spin. So my success plan of keeping mom engaged and anxiety-free absolutely continued using the Lego bricks, just in a slightly different way. AARP even named me the entertainment director in their caregiver story segment because I'm always searching for something fun for my mom to do. One of the other most fun things for mom to do is look at her high school yearbook from Cardozo Senior High School in DC, class of 1947. And then up until about a year ago, she knew everybody in that book without looking at their names, long after she had forgotten who I was. So check out this Spanish club picture. Mom is in the front row on the right with the dark sweater. So trust me when I tell you there are 13 girls in this picture, and there is one boy in the back. See that boy in the back? So when we were being interviewed by the New York Times, the photographer wanted to see mom, naming all the people in her favorite club. So she's naming all the girls, not the boy. So the photographer asked who he was. Mom says, "I don't know who that boy was. We weren't friends." And so the photographer commented on how interesting it was. She knew all of the girls, but not the only boy. Mom says, "Well, I don't know why he wanted to be in a club with all girls anyway, and I didn't know him." Well, this is what I call selective dementia, because mom knew that boy in the back for at least a minute, because that boy is my father. How about that? So the obvious joyful practice related to humor is just making each other laugh, especially on the bad days. And for folks with dementia, it's very helpful to tell funny stories from that person's past, even if the person you're caring for doesn't say or do anything funny. Just pick up a joke book at the dollar store, or watch a funny comedy or movie on TV together. All or any of these activities can bring success to your daily plan. So here's the final H for humor, and you can add that would be a pretty easy one, probably. Add whatever you want to do to bring humor and joy to the folks you care for, and you can add your joyful practices as well. And I'll give you your last bit of music as we roll out, and I'll check out the chat while you're writing. Mom really is she really is a rebel, Nikki. Oh, singing those songs. This is great. You all are awesome. I love the singing out loud. Wow. Oh, Gregorian chant. Yes.
Yeah, there was two shoes.
That's awesome. I sing pop songs for my wife in the form of Gregorian. I do a service for my church at night, and I always do Gregorian chants. So that's very cool. Makes her smile. That works for me. My mom gave us great memories, laughs, and love. Thank you, Justine. Oh, wow. You all are awesome. Totally awesome. Yay. Well, thank you for adding to your list. And, as we, go, through just this last slide, I want you to, think about the 3 H's well after we leave today. These 3 H's, humility, hope, and humor, they provide us with so many opportunities to create daily success and joyful moments based on what our values are and our practices. Now, of course, these 3 things are not going to solve all of your caregiving challenges that you may experience, but I absolutely believe they will certainly bring you some joy. And I really thank you for, sharing today. These were great ideas. I love the singing and the love and the laughter and all the things that you wrote about, all the memories that you have. But I also want you to hold on to your sheet and start to build your daily success plans and joyful practices over the next month or so. And then refer to your list if you're, having a particularly bad caregiving day or things are not going according to your plan. So you can always look back and think of things you want to try next time. And like as you build your success plan, you can, have one for either each of the people that you work with, or if you think one will work for everybody, you want to use the same strategies, you certainly can do that as well. But I hope you will find it useful to put these practices into play. I get emails from people. I'll put my email in the chat in just a minute. I love getting emails from people who, have gone back and looked at it and actually worked on a plan. And because we all care for different people, we certainly can't come up with one success plan during this presentation, but we can certainly use some of our values to highlight the things that will make us most successful. So I leave you with these closing thoughts. The first time you change an adult's diaper, it humbles you. It reminds us that we've come full circle. Someone did it for us at the beginning of our lives when we couldn't change ourselves. And now we are doing it for others as they end near the end of their lives. We get up each day because we have hope that today will be better than yesterday, and that there will be at least one moment of joy. Our hope keeps us going when we use our lifelines to confirm we are not alone. And we need to laugh out loud at least once a day so we can anticipate what may make us laugh tomorrow. I hope that as you continue to add to your list over the next 30 days or so, it will remind you of some of the tangible things that we talked about briefly and that you can take away from this session. So I hope that you'll be able to push away those negative I give up thoughts if they ever pop into your mind, and you can smile broadly and loudly as you proclaim to yourself, I've got this. I have the utmost confidence in you that you can do it. So go forth, my friends, and build yourself many years of joyful caregiver experiences with humility, hope, and humor. I not only thank you so much for your time, your support, but especially for your participation today. Thank you all so much for having me at the end of this conference today. And I appreciate all of you hanging around to come back for this last session. You all were awesome to work with, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Oh, that's true, Dolores. It is.
I'm going to leave the chat open. Everybody can share if there's any questions for Loretta. But I wish I could give you a standing ovation virtually.
Oh, you're awesome.
How are you doing? Unfortunately,
you're awesome.
Like that well.
That's so cool. Really I'm so glad you liked it.
Yeah, that was
beautiful. Thank you, Melanie. Great to meet you as well. You all are awesome. Totally awesome. Oh, the comments are great. I'm so glad this was good. Thank you. Thank you. Incredible presentation. Yay. Oh, so it's got good ideas from the 3 H's. Yay, that's really great. You know, I think humility really was, I think I've learned so much from my mom, you know, about it. She's a very discreet person. So, you know, if you start to take her clothes off and you're just not doing it in a, you know, careful and thoughtful way, you know, she gets real shy and she'll try to cover herself up. And, you know, we really just always have to be cognizant of, you know, what's happening around us instead of just going through the motions of doing whatever we're trying to do at that moment without considering the person on the other end. So I think that's so true. Ooh. Oh, thank you so much, Melanie. You guys are so awesome.
Well, Miss Loretta, I'll let you keep reading the chat and I can go ahead and close out our conference today. So thank you again. That was absolutely beautiful. I mean, it's so impactful to hear your own firsthand experience and, you know, the tools that you use to get through it. So I really appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable and sharing your light and your love and spreading it with everybody across the country.
Yes. I'm so happy. Yay. I'm so glad you all liked it.
So it's been an incredible day. And there's this old proverb that I think about sometimes, and it's that God gives us burdens, but he also gives us shoulders. And even then, sometimes our shoulders get heavy, and it's so important to have some kind of outlet, whether it's leaning on your support system, you know, talking to a professional, or even leaning on a powerful community of caregivers like those that Loretta shared in the virtual forums on Facebook, or like the group that we have here in Jacksonville, where you can join us through workshops and support groups, or it's making time for self-care and mindfulness and self-expression. So I really hope for everybody joining us today that you're leaving feeling a little bit lighter. And I hope that you're able to take something away from today to fill your own cup, because we all know you cannot pour from an empty one. So if you've got an extra moment, I'm going to share a feedback evaluation poll, if I can find it. We would love to get some feedback from you guys, just to tell us what you liked and what was important to you. And, you know, it helps us continue to improve these sessions throughout the rest of the year. So I really appreciate you being here. If you want to stay in touch with us, you should see on the screen, there's a QR code, and that'll pull up all the ways you can stay in touch, our e-newsletter, our Facebook. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel to get the recordings for the workshops today, or you can just go to our website and all that information's there. So stay in touch. We would love to see you guys at our next workshop, and we'll send out emails and post on Facebook to keep everybody up to date with what we're doing. So I look forward to staying in touch with everybody and staying connected to this caregiving community here in Jacksonville and our surrounding counties, and in Mike's case, all the way from Missouri. So thank you again, everybody, for being here today. I'm going to leave everything open just for a little bit if anyone has anything else to put in the chat, but that wraps us up for a beautiful day. So keep your
I put my email in the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Keep your eye on your inbox. And in the coming weeks, I will share the workshop recordings and anything we've talked about today, any resources that have come up, any handouts that have been shared. I'll send that out to everybody. So thank you again. Thank you, Loretta.
Thank you all. This was awesome. Thank you so much.